I'll never call off. Fourth quarter pressure. Back of the jersey. Double sevens. No matter how many times, I'll never get tired of that reference. Hall of Fame for dirt. We love you with a deep reverence.
Hi, this is Luka Doncic,
Hi, I'm Kyrie Irving,
and you're listening to the Mavs Step Back Podcast.
They waiting on my fall off. I'll never call off. Fourth quarter pressure. Back of the jersey. Double sevens. No matter how many times, I'll never get tired of that reference. Hall of Fame for dirt. We love you with a deep reverence. Backcourt nasty. I wonder who gon' check him. Cuban did his thing when he went and got number 11. I still got his picture on my wall at 707. Feel synonymous with Kyrie, how we both train with aggression. Competition obsolete. Trying to breathe life into my dreams. I'm so tired of sleep. Still got some work from last season that was incomplete. So hungry for redemption. Thank my boys, just might overeat. Like Luka with his 3 of them hit, my mic is prone to overheat. I pride myself the most. I'm 22 and my folks proud of me. I took the heart away since I was 10. Was no surprise to me. A step back, Mavs blowing up was no surprise to me. And I'm speaking honestly. 7.
All right, DJ. We got the intro song, the intro video going tonight. So everybody listening knows what that means. It means the Mavs got a huge win. It was a pivotal. It was a pivotal game 5 on the road against the LA Clippers. After they came all the way back from 31 in game 4 and couldn't finish it off, we had a tied series. And, I wrote before game 5, and I said, this could possibly be Luka's biggest moment in the playoffs since that game 7 against the Suns in 2022. And wouldn't you know it, DJ, Luka ended up scoring the same exact amount of points that he did in that game 7. And the final score of this game was the exact same from that game 7 against the Suns, 123-93. The Mavs a resounding victory over the Clippers in what could be the Clippers' final game in Los Angeles because they're moving to San Diego next year. Just amazing stuff. Look, I'm not fluent in Spanish, DJ, but I did take a few classes in high school, and one of the most useless phrases I learned when I was in Spanish class was "Yo tengo un pescado largo en mi pantalones," which means I have a rather large fish in my pants. And that's what Luka Doncic was tonight in game 5 against the Clippers. He had, for the lack of, a more vulgar phrase, he had a rather large fish in his pants, and he was swinging it around, like it was nobody else's business.
With big fish energy.
Yeah, big fish energy. He had a sprained knee. He was sick, all the above. He comes out and has his best game of the series by far. Now, shooting threes, his efficiency still isn't there from the 3-point line. He was 2 of 8, but overall, by far his best efficiency in this series so far. He shot 14 of 26. He had 35 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists, was a plus 28. Kyrie Irving didn't score a lot, only had 14 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, but he was a team high plus 35. He was great defensively tonight. No lapses at all from Kyrie Irving. And he pushed the ball in transition. He was amazing. So, DJ, huge win, biggest game of the season. Now the Mavs have a chance to go back home and close this series out on Friday. How are we feeling?
Well, the reason that Luka was able to have such a big night tonight, I feel, is because some of his teammates stepped up in a really big way. Let's look at this box score. Obviously, Maxi Kleber, the surprise of the night, with 15 points, all coming from beyond the arc. 12 of 15 came in the second quarter, and those were a big 12 points. Let's see. I'm trying to get this thing to pull up. My internet's a little bit slow.
And the
yeah,
corner
Derek
three
Jones
was
12. What'd you say?
the corner three for Maxey was money tonight. Absolute money.
Oh yeah, especially in the first half and in that second quarter, all 4 of his threes came from the corner. So, but yeah, he wasn't the only one that had a really good night. I mean, Derek Jones had a productive night. Let's see, and Derek Lively was really good. He's an excellent lob threat. And then you just had, smaller performances that whenever you stack them all up, they end up being pretty substantial. For instance, Gafford gave you 8. Green was able to give you a tremendous 4-point play.
Woo, did that swing the momentum?
Because they were coming back. And that put them right back down.
Yeah,
so,
the Mavs had gone up by 20, 21 or 22, somewhere in that range toward the end of the third. But then Paul George hit a couple of back-to-back threes and got it down to like 16 or 17 points. It was 17 points. No, 16 points is what it got it down to. And then to end the quarter, Josh Green got ran over by Plumlee in the corner, swished the 3, got the free throw. So that completely changed the momentum. Mavs went up by 20 going into the fourth and never looked back from there. But this was essentially an extension of the second half of Game 4 for the Mavs because the intensity picked up. They knew they messed up really bad by going down by 31 in that game, and they expended so much effort coming back and couldn't quite get it over the hump. Kyrie Irving after that game, and he made a vow. He said that his team was coming out with more energy in this game than they did in the previous game, and he spearheaded that effort with the energy, and you could just tell it was the same level of intensity as when they were down by 31 and had to come all the way back. But instead of having to worry about coming back from that deficit, they end up winning by 30 instead. It's amazing how that works,
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. They were able to focus on building a lead and just continuously nursing that lead. They were able to get a pretty decent lead at half and, just build off of that from the get-go. And it's really incredible if you come out with, the said energy that Irving was mentioning. It's really just incredible what you can do as far as, just execution wise and how much easier the game is and how much more things slow down for you. And I really think that, especially for Luka, things slowed down tremendously. Even though the pace itself was sped up, I felt like things slowed down for Luka, and he was able to get much easier attempts, specifically right at the rim. I mean, he was able to get penetration whenever he wanted to. He was able to get paint touches whenever he wanted to. And I think a really big thing for him was ceasing the settling for contested three-point shots, getting to the rim, seeing the ball go through the hoop a few times, and then lo and behold, later in the game, specifically in the fourth quarter, his three-point shot is resurrected. It's interesting how that works too.
Yeah. Well, look, the spacing, it's amazing what having guys around you hitting threes can do. I mean, when they're hitting threes, then, in the back of every Clippers player's mind, it's like, okay, well, I can't be this tight on Luka because guys like Maxey, who hit 4 threes in the second quarter alone, are wide open and they're hot. And so now you have much more space to operate with. And when you give Luka space, especially inside the 3-point line, it's over with. Like he is a master manipulator. They
also started overcompensating defensively. The Clippers did, and they would start sending 2 to Luka. And whenever that happens, Kyrie Irving's wide open in the other slot. And there were a couple instances where Luka just had to kick it over the midline right to Kyrie Irving for an easy open 3.
Yeah.
And, of course, Irving only had 14, but, they were a big 14. He made some big time shots tonight. And while I would have liked to have seen him put up more in that first half, obviously a win's a win and we'll take it. But that'll definitely be one of my main keys moving forward into game 6 is hopefully Irving can get going early this time around, because if he's able to do this, imagine what he can do if you have a full 4 quarters of Kyrie Irving just going nuts. So
yeah, and look, the Mavs, they were up 10 at halftime, despite Luka, Kyrie, and PJ Washington they were a combined 0 of 12 from 3.
Yep.
And yet they were still up 10 at halftime. So if you're the Mavs, you had to feel good coming into the second half, thinking, okay, well, we didn't shoot worth a shit from 3, but now we have a chance to do better and extend this thing. And it was kind of back and forth there to start the third quarter, but the play that really changed the momentum, in my opinion, were the Mavs. They were up by 12, I believe, and Kyrie Irving, the pass coming toward him, he tipped it. Like it was, and instead of just trying to control it, he tipped it a second time out in front in transition, and he went after it. He went for the layup, got it, got fouled, and he was laying on the floor, and he just like you could just see the passion coming from. At that point, that was when you started to think, okay, yeah, this team is not losing in this game 5. And we've talked about it before. He's got the heart of a champion. It obviously hurt him deeply not being in the postseason last year. This was his first time being in the postseason with Luka. Luka was frustrated that he hasn't been able to give Kyrie enough support so far in this series because, dude, we were looking at before this game started, Kyrie is shooting like 50-50-90 or 50-50-95, something. It's just unbelievable. What he was shooting through the first 4 games of the series. He was nearly perfect. And, Luka was upset that he hadn't been able to live up to his standards too. So, it was good to see Luka have a good bounce back game, despite the knee sprain, despite the sickness. He finally broke out of his slump. And look, now, I mean, it's hard to close out a team. Friday is not going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. The Mavs are going to have to come out and have the same level of urgency and attention to detail that we saw in game 5 on the road. So we'll see how it goes. But overall, I mean, it's a pretty good feeling to have a 3-2 lead going back to your own house. And ironically enough, game 6 is the only game of this series where the Mavs will be wearing their black jerseys. So it's kind of like the championship team when the Mavs wore all black to close out series. They'll be wearing those black uniforms on the court, and it's kind of like their funeral, so to speak. So hopefully that works out for them. Those uniforms are amazing. I love them.
Oh, yeah.
Wish they were the regular uniforms. But I'm thrilled with this effort. And look, one thing we need to point out, and even the broadcast crew, I think it was Jamal Crawford who was one of the TNT broadcasters tonight. And look, Jamal Crawford knows a score when he sees a score. It was in garbage time, but Jaden Hardy, in 5 minutes of garbage time, scored 14 points. 5 minutes. And he scored 14 points. And Jamal Crawford, and I think it was Reggie Miller with him too. I'm not 100% sure, but those two guys were just like, their jaws hit the floor.
Hardy's there's no doubting that Hardy is talented. It's just finding a suitable role for him on this roster. And it may not be this year. I don't know about next year or not, but if he continues to mature, I mean, obviously the guy has upside. So
the key for Hardy is not having him do too much with the ball. I mean, I'm not saying he can't. I mean, he's shown that he can drive to the rim and finish, but ideally you want him to be a catch and shoot 3-point guy because he can shoot the ball really well. And there was a stretch before the All-Star break, like a 6-game, 7-game stretch where he was shooting like 50% from three and contributing in a key bench role. And then after the All-Star break, he just kind of, disappeared and wasn't seen from again in the rotation. So I fully expect the Mavs to do something with Tim Hardaway Jr.'s expiring contract this summer before going into the next season. And I do think that, Jaden Hardy can potentially try to work his way into that same kind of Tim Hardaway Jr. role just without the minutes because, even if you can get 10 minutes a night and hit a couple threes, that's good. That's what you want from role players like Hardy. And then obviously, like he showed tonight, it doesn't take him long to fill it up. when he's
I'm gonna tell you what, I might get crucified for this, but hear me out, and everyone else hear me out too. Dante Exum, as much as we love Dante Exum, hasn't been really producing in this series. What if we gave Hardy some of his minutes? Let's see what he does with that. Now, we may be sorely disappointed, but, I'm always looking to tweak as much as I possibly can as far as rotations and stuff are concerned. And I think that, I know it was garbage time and I know what he was playing against, but let's give the young guy an opportunity here in the playoffs.
Situationally, like it depends on the situation that the Mavs are in, but it just depends on whether they need more offense or more defense. Now, look, during that stretch before the All-Star break, Hardy showed he can play pretty good defense.
Yeah.
When he's engaged, and he's in the mix with other good defenders too. But Dante Exum, I would say, is still by far in a way the better defender of the two.
I agree.
Exum had 4 assists in 10 minutes tonight. So I mean he's been disappointing for sure, but I still feel like at some point, Exum has shown the ability to hit big shots, clutch shots for the Mavs when they need them the most. So, we'll see how that develops as this playoff run hopefully continues into the second round. And, hopefully the Mavs can close things out at home on Friday, and then they'll have a couple extra days to rest before. Let's see, when is May 7th? May 7th is when the second round against the Clippers would start. That's Tuesday. So if the Mavs close things out on Friday, they'd have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then all day Tuesday until the game starts to prepare for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that one will have some extra juice to it because, I'm pretty sure, or with the way everybody's acting, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to end up finishing second in MVP voting and Luka third. So I think there's going to be a little bit of extra juice there. OKC fans have been talking a lot of trash this year, saying that Shai has been the better player than Luka all year. Well, now both players can go at it, and the teams can go at it, and we'll see if it gets to that point. But again, before we even get there, the Mavs have to take care of business on Friday in Game 6. And DJ, before we go into some other housekeeping notes here, especially on the Clippers side, it's that time again. I'm going to tell all of our listeners about Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app, where you can go, and it's easy. It's easy. You pick the higher or lower values for points, rebounds, assists, all that kind of stuff for your favorite players. Doesn't have to be Mavs players. It can be any NBA players or, NFL, whatever sport you want to do it. Super easy. Use our promo code STEPBACK to get up to $100 off your first deposit. Or I completely botched that. I'm sorry, Prize Picks, but I'm gonna make it up for you. I'm gonna give you a little bit more airtime here, and make up for it. Get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. So if you deposit $100, for example, you'll have $200 in your account, and you can go play some Prize Pick games and win you some money, hopefully. Unless you're me, and then you lose some money more times than often. But anyway, Prize Picks. Use our promo code STEPBACK. Go on, do it. Use our code. It helps us.
It's 12:15 a.m., guys. So Just
Yeah,
keep
that's your super professional Prize Picks ad from me, Dalton Trigg, Mavs step back and DallasBasketball.com guy at 12:15 a.m. Okay, anyway, we're we're going
I don't think
into
it's possible to be professional at 12:15 a.m. Let's just be real here.
dude, I'm recording a podcast in my truck. I don't know I think the professionalism kind of went out the window when I started doing that. So we're gonna keep rolling with it. Okay, so game 4, we talked about it. You know, James Harden, Paul George, they combined to go 11 of 15 from deep. The Clippers as a team they shot 62% from 3 in game 4. And we were thinking, like, okay, well, if they're going to shoot like that, there's really nothing you can do, because the Mavs did play pretty good, especially on Paul George. Derrick Jones Jr. and PJ Washington were all over Paul George, and it just didn't matter. So you kind of felt like there was going to be a little bit of a regression to the mean, because the Clippers, they were being guarded, but they were just hitting stuff. And that really did regress big time in game 5, because as a team, the Clippers shot 25.7% from 3 in game 5 at home. So that's rough. James Harden, he was only 1 of 7 from 3. He was only 2 of 12 overall and had 7 points and was a negative 25. Like, as good as he was, and we gave him his flowers, you know, for his game 4 performance, he was just as bad in the other direction in this one. He he was awful. He was getting hunted on defense by the Mavs, and, you know, gave up easy points more times than not. Paul George shot 4 of 13 overall, 2 of 6 from 3. He did have a double-double, 15 points, 11 rebounds, had 4 assists. But, you know, they just didn't have it. Luka outshined everybody that the Clippers had. And, you know, it was one of those games, again, where it seemed like the best 2 players on the Clippers were Zubac and Norman Powell.
I do think that Norman Powell is their best player in terms of consistency.
Good.
That guy is a freaking firecracker, and he is going to get paid somewhere. What is his contract?
I have to look it up. He is good, though. I mean, could you imagine if the Mavs had him in Tim Hardaway Jr.'s spot?
Oh,
like that would be incredible.
Different ball game. But I want to tell you this: after this year and after this series, the Mavs ain't going to be able to afford him, and really neither are the Clippers. I don't know what's going to go on with that guy's contract, but
he's Norman Powell. After this season is over, he will still have 2 years left on his contract. He'll make $19 million next season and $20 million in the 2025-26 season. So he's getting paid.
He's getting paid, yeah.
So he got paid. I think Portland. He signed a 5-year, $90 million contract with Portland, and then got traded to the Clippers. So that's how that all happened. But yeah, man, I think. You know, and you could even, if the Clippers end up deciding to blow things up, you know, maybe this is the last ride with Kawhi and his injury situation, and Paul George could potentially be a free agent. And then, you know, James Harden and all that, you know, you look at it, and if the Clippers do blow it up, I mean, you could potentially trade an expiring Tim Hardaway Jr. contract and maybe a pick or a younger player or something like that, and, you know, fill that Tim Hardaway Jr. role with somebody more consistent, and you really have something there. But anyway, that's going down a completely different rabbit hole. But yeah, I do think more times than not, Zubac and Norman Powell have been the Clippers' best players in this series. And it's really crazy the massive swings we've seen from the Clippers. They've had 2 good, and I don't even know if it's really the Clippers themselves, like Paul George and Harden themselves having those really, really good games, or if it has anything to do with the Mavs playing at 2:30 tip-off times.
I don't know. Like, and it also, I've also thought maybe it has something to do with, you know, the defensive setup as well. But really, I mean, we talked about it before we hopped on here. their coverage of James Harden in the first half did not change from game to game. It really didn't. They were still doing that. I mean, some people call it drop coverage. You could probably call it, a soft ice or something like that. Either way, you've got the post player sitting back waiting for the straight line drive coming from Harden. And they allowed those straight line drives. But Harden really didn't capitalize on them, at least not at the rate that he was capitalizing on them in the last
yeah.
game. Now I will say this: I was very concerned with how we guarded the pick and roll, and again, we were doing that, soft ice crap, and they were able to get a plethora of open threes for Terrence Mann in the corner. And I realize, you take the lesser of the evils, but I'm not so sure that Terrence Mann is the lesser of the evils whenever he's shooting 50%. So at least he shot 50% last game. I don't even know what he shot this game. Didn't he go out with an injury though? Like, isn't he hurt?
Who? Oh yeah. I think so. I don't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Some kind of knee injury. It was on it was either on like a screenplay or a double screen. I don't know.
That's what it was. It was a screen. He got caught up in a screen, and it was a foul on the Mavs. It wasn't like a dirty foul or anything, but it was a foul, and he got banged up on that. But that is that's a good observation there, because that obviously, look, Terrence Mann is another guy who is just like,
I like him a lot.
He's really I think he's played above his normal ceiling on offense for this series, as far as shooting the ball and everything. But defensively, this is what Terrence Mann is all the time. Like, he is just a hawk. Even when he's not on the ball, he is up in guys. And, the two games that the Clippers have won, he just did an amazing job denying Kyrie the ball. He really did a good job doing it tonight at certain times too. But yeah, I mean, I've been very impressed with Terrence Mann. It'll be interesting to see, what his status is going into the next game, because I don't know how serious of a deal that was.
I don't think he came back in, did he? Did he ever re-enter the game?
I don't think he came back in the game after that. I think that his night was done. I think they kind of, which, I mean, Ty Lue was pretty close to waving the white flag at that point anyway. But yeah, I don't think he came back in. We'll have to keep an eye on that going forward. I'm looking at some of the stuff that Mavs PR put out as we've been doing this, and it says Maxi Kleber converted 5 of 7 from deep tonight against the Clippers, the most 3-pointers he has made in a game this year. So in the biggest moment of the season, the most important game of the season, Maxi Kleber show, and he has a knack for doing this, DJ. Like, they're just specific play, and he did this in 2022. He did it against the Utah Jazz. He just has these games where he shows up in big moments. It's like obviously Robert Horry is on a much different level as far as hitting big shots.
Though. It is similar.
But it's a similar dynamic.
Yeah, it is very similar. That's a really good comparison, actually. Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, it says Kleber improved to a career 40.3% from beyond the arc in the playoffs after tonight. So Kleber's a 40% 3-point shooter in the playoffs for his career. That's insane. So shout out to him. Another note from Mavs PR. After scoring 12 points in tonight's win against Clippers, Derrick Jones Jr. recorded his fourth straight. Let's see. He's recorded 4 straight games with double-digit scoring figures this playoffs. His career longest streak of games with double-digit scoring is 5, which was that was earlier this season. So he good thing for Derrick Jones that he joined the Mavs, because it seems like he's really taken off and had a career year. By role player standards, he's had a career year on a veteran minimum contract, and I do think there's mutual interest. I know there's mutual interest between the Mavs and Derrick Jones Jr. to agree on a longer term deal this summer. And why wouldn't you? The guy is supremely athletic. He is one of your best perimeter, if not the best perimeter defender, along with PJ Washington. And he's only 27 years old. It feels like he's been around forever in this league, but he's only 27. He's still in his prime.
I just can't get over how much his perimeter shot has improved. Like whenever he initially came into the league, like granted, day one in the league, he was one of the freakiest athletes in the league. Like there aren't very many people on planet Earth that can jump like him. Like we're talking about like Vince Carter level athleticism.
And he showcased that in Game 5 too.
Oh yeah.
There was one play where Kyrie was in transition and he tried to there was a defender between him and Luka on the fast break, and he tried to give it up to Luka, and the pass was a little bit off. It was kind of at Luka's shin and deflected off of it. Luka fell down and didn't get back into play soon enough, so it was just Kyrie one-on-one. Well, then Derrick Jones just comes flying out of nowhere, and Kyrie gets the ball to him, and he just rises above the defender, slams it, got the foul. Just that kind of stuff from Derrick Jones Jr. He seems to, more times than not, he seems like he's in the right place at the right time. And he's been a godsend for the Mavs on a veteran minimum contract.
He's got a nose for the ball. I mean, that he's the walking, talking representation of that statement. But yeah, no, a big time veteran minimum pickup for the Mavs. I hope we do sign him to a longer term deal, because he could be a pretty big pickup for us in the long run, honestly.
Career high shooting for Derrick Jones Jr. from three this year at 34.3%, which, look, I mean, that's not great, but at one point, before he went through a little slump in the second half of the season, when he started the year, there was a certain point where he was shooting near 38% from three.
Also, his stats earlier in his career, and you see an upward trajectory. And that just tells me, this guy's hungry and he's going to continue to get better. And whenever a freaky athlete like Derrick Jones is able to put together some fundamental skills, they become pretty scary.
What I like to see too, he didn't even hit like the 31% mark until the 2020-2021 season. Yep. And since then, in that season, he shot 31.6% from three. The next season, 32.8% from three. The next season, 33.8% from three. And now this season, 34.3%. So he has gotten better every single season. And he shot a career high 3.1 attempts from deep per game this year. So, and again, he's only 27 years old. So I think, if he decides to stay with the Mavs and has that continuity build up over the next several years with Luka and Kyrie, I think it's just going to be even better for the Mavs and him personally. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think at the very minimum, I think he gets offered the full taxpayer MLE, which is around like $5 or $6 million a year, I think, which would be almost, I think, more than double what he made this year.
So, and he's earned it. I mean, he's earned it. Honestly, he may deserve more. I mean,
he probably does. I think Derrick Jones Jr. is probably a full MLE type player. Now, obviously, we don't. The Mavs don't have that to offer right now, but they could move some stuff around and make it to where they can pay Derrick Jones Jr. more if they needed to. And I think he's a key piece. Luka loves him. Kyrie loves him. I think it's an easy, decision to do that. So we'll see how that goes. But okay, so we do this after every game, DJ. After everything you saw in this one, it's kind of hard to, come up with adjustments that you want to see going into the next game when you get a 30-point win on the road. But what are you looking for specifically as we head into Game 6 in Dallas on Friday night?
Well, I look for us not to revert back to our old coverage of James Harden. I look for us to stick with what we went with in the second half. I didn't say that on here, but the coverage for Harden changed midway through the game. At first, they were doing that Matador stuff where they were doing, the soft ice or whatever you want to call it. And then they ended up just straight up guarding him. And that bothered him a lot. There was one notable instance where Luka straight up guarded him off of, I want to say, a switch on a pick and roll. He switched off on him and played him straight up and forced him into a contested three, to which Harden missed badly. And that really is just, a prime example, I think, of what happens whenever you play good, sound, fundamental defense instead of just trying to use these schemes to. I really don't know what the objective was behind that coverage. I mean, in order for that type of coverage to work, we've talked about this, and I feel like a broken record saying it, but the backside has to rotate in a way that is just not possible at this level because guys are so fast. They move the ball so quickly and they execute so quickly that somebody is going to be open every single time. At the end of the day, we need to bet on ourselves, on our defenders, to be able to keep in front of people, and that shouldn't be an issue. Harden is a great player, but Harden is not supremely athletic. Washington can stay in front of him. Hell, Luka stayed in front of him today, and Luka is on one leg.
Yeah.
So that's one. I know I've gone on a rant about this, but that's one thing that I look to at least stay the same is for us to not switch up coverages and to stay with the game plan as far as that's concerned. Next, how many offensive rebounds did we give up today? I want to say it was in the double figures. Wasn't it like 15, 16? How many was it?
Let me see. We the Mavs out rebounded. No, the Clippers out rebounded the Mavs 45-40 overall, and the Clippers had 14 offensive rebounds. So that's not great.
It did. That wasn't felt as much today because we won by such a great quantity. But in a close game, those second chance opportunities matter. And they are what allow teams to get back into games like that. So I would like to see us do a better job on the glass, but that's just me. I would always like to see us do a better job on the glass.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for another episode of Mavs Step Back Podcast. Again, be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Leave us a bunch of likes, comments, all that good stuff. And go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you want a chance to win some playoff tickets, in the near future, we're going to, if the Mavs close things out against the Clippers and end up facing the OKC Thunder in the second round, I have some plans to do a ticket giveaway for one of the home games of that series. So be sure to go and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and put your social media ads so we know how to contact you if you are selected for that giveaway. We also pick people from that to win T-shirts and stuff of that nature too. So, guys, appreciate it. It's always fun to come on here and break down a Mavs game, especially a Mavs win like this one, which was very much so the biggest win of the season in the biggest game of the season so far. So we will see you guys Friday night as the Mavs attempt to close out the Clippers in 6 games. We'll see y'all. Have a good one.